look this morning, Corey or Bob, did you look at what the pump rate was?
299 for E10.
So $2.51 to $3 is 55 cents to our guidance.
Move to set the mileage reimbursement rate for fourth quarter calendar year 25 at 55 cents.
Second.
Moved by Corey, second by Bob to set the reimbursement rate for mileage for this quarter at 55 cents per mile. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Claims were sent out in advance. Hopefully everybody got a chance to review.
No concerns. Move to authorize.
Second.
Moved by Brunkhorst, second by Serwinski to approve the claims as presented and authorize the auditor to issue checks. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That motion carries. We have a couple of personnel in front of us. Lynn Anhalt is moving from CBS Financials up to the recorder.
Jackie Brown is.
Or, excuse me, Jackie Brown, yeah, sorry. Lynn Anhalt is already up there and has transitioned from a standard employee to a deputy employee. So two at the
She's a deputy now, she's going to 80%.
okay, thank you for that clarification. Moving to an 80% deputy. So her rate of pay will be $67,420. Jackie Boer's rate of pay will be $22 an hour in the auditor's, the recorder's office, and Tad Chapin for secondary roads is a new hire, and his rate of pay is suggested to be $27.11 per hour. I think now I finally have all three of those straight, so
I'd move to approve payroll additions and changes.
Second.
moved by Corey, second by Bob to approve Anhalt, Boer, and Chapin. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, that motion carries. Quarterly reports were presented to us. Any questions regarding the,
Received all aligned. Question?
Move to accept the reports from the treasurer, auditor, recorder, and sheriff, and place on file.
Second.
moved by Corey, second by Bob to accept the three submitted reports? Nothing from the treasurer this time?
I do a semi-annual report.
Okay. All right, anything else? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Those motion, or those will be placed on file. Annual urban report. Shelley, I think,
We want Jen to come down and explain the details of it, otherwise this is what we have to file at each fall to put out to the public what we have for urban renewals for the county. It just gets all of the details, shares at what plans we have out there. Makes it so that it's public and everybody can see its transparency and exposure of what we have going on here at the county in urban renewal.
And this will be the last time, since the balance is zero, this will go away.
No.
Because we started the new one, that we're not, there's no
The
debt.
courthouse is an urban renewal,
Okay.
so we will add that when it potentially has dollars.
So it exists, it's just not, there's not money.
But it's in a
But
different
it's still-
urban renewal district. This urban renewal district will close
This
up.
is all urban renewal, including the one, so everything we have. It's just there's no money, no activity going on in the one that we've established for the courthouse property.
Okay.
But it is included in the report.
it's a fairly copious report. I only question whether or not the public really would fully understand what it even says. Is there a better way to summarize or allow people to understand what this is a state mandated report. Since it's state mandated, it takes us time to develop the report. Does it have value, I guess is what I'm asking, other than takes time to develop?
I don't know who's out there using it, so.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, to me, are the TIF funds and debt, are they upside down? That'd be the biggest thing people should worry about.
I just don't know that if the average person reading this report would be able to determine that.
Nope.
And that's my concern. Could the report be
Easier?
easier to understand, better?
A simplified public version
Right,
where this is still needed for an audit trail.
right. Or maybe a summary at the end of the report that this, not necessarily that we would generate, well, we would generate it, but maybe we need to, maybe that could be one of our conversations with legislators, that that type of thing needs to change so that the public really can fully understand what they're even having fed to them. Do you feel that you are comfortable enough, either one of you, to make a motion to
I
accept and approve the report?
accept and approve the FY '25 annual urban renewal report.
Second Bob's motion.
Moved by Bob, second by Corey, to approve the annual urban renewal report. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, that motion carries. Rolling right through this meeting, board committee updates, Bob?
No updates.
Corey?
Last Thursday, we had our kickoff meeting for Comprehensive Land Use Task Force in Trapolo. Shelley joined us. We were, about half of our committee was there. I think we had 11 members there, which hope to have a few more at the next one. Good conversation, good discussion. I thought it was a very good group, definitely not just sitting back listening there. Everybody had significant input to it. It was a good productive meeting. Next meeting is October 23rd at 6 p.m. in Trapolo.
At the Conservation Board.
Conservation Board. Yeah.
And public is welcome.
Yes.
Encouraged, actually, aren't they?
The more input we get, the better.
And Intercog did a good job
Yeah.
explaining what the,
Isaiah did a really good job managing it and took a lot of notes. Gave him some feedback on some more data we'd like to see the next meeting to kind of give us a little more steering and guidance. We didn't have a building small group meeting last week. Just moving forward with details on ISG's end. I still don't have a schedule for next week. I hope to have that by the end of the day today. Put a request in this morning to get time that the full board would be required next week. So once I have that, I'll share that to everybody. And then Friday morning, for an hour, Darius and I met with quite a few supervisors in a teams meeting regarding legal matters surrounding the pipeline. Had a teams meeting with several members across the state on that. It was productive. There's been a lot going on that. I think next week we're going to do a breakout session, and bring everybody up to speed on filings over the last couple of weeks. So talk more about that then. That's all I had.
I didn't have any official meetings. I did attend David Lehman's retirement and wished him well on behalf of all of us. I don't know if you all made it out there or not, but he was giddy as always, and I'm excited for him because he's going out with his health, and that's what's important. So he was a perfect candidate to fill that position and start it and run with it. And he has done an outstanding job, and I expressed that to him. So anything else?
no, that was a nice event, and so it was good.
Yeah,
It was good.
yeah, it's
And he got to drive the new truck, he said, last week.
Did they
so-
tell you what they were initially thinking that would be kind of fun to do? They thought maybe it would be fun to put a sign on it and set it out front and say, thank you for your years of service. And see what people would say as they came to the retirement party, but probably best they didn't because someone would have taken it to heart, but it was a great idea. Josh seems to be very excited about taking over and running with what David started and is definitely going to stay in touch with David. So. No. Anything else? Okay, we have 4.5 minutes, so it was your wish for a few minutes. Morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. A little bit cooler this morning.
Very nice.
Feels good, actually.
Show this what we got. I figured you'd give me some flack
I
on
was at
that.
8 this morning, so
What's that?
they were there at 8 this morning.
Oh, really?
Started tearing siding off, so, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you'd razz me a little bit about that, but I thought it was funny.
You're gonna be sewing too, or just gonna be?
Well, I've got that like wicker rocking chair in my office. You just sit down there on the sidewalk and sew away on a flag. And
Okay. That'd be more like Christmas on Main, where we're acting.
Sheriff, when did they take out the stopping standing on a gravel road out of the state code?
I'm not sure.
You know, that we discussed that last week about the area over by Wapsie School, and I said, well, why do we need that? Because it's already in the code, but I can't find it in the code anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to look if,
Must have been taken out.
we run
Not
into
sure
the
why.
same problem down south of town here. We would put signs up there too, because fire trucks, there was concerns if they had to get through there, they couldn't get through at the venue down there.
The event center. The event center, south of
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
Morning, Scott.
morning.
Got a minute here and we'll
And Ted was approved.
Okay, so you want me to do the original then? Too late?
Okay, it's 9:15. Longtime custodian Wayne Meyer is retiring from the Bremer Waverly Law Enforcement Center, so we're here to discuss providing temporary custodial services for them with the staff from the courthouse. Scott and Dan, you want to join Scott up at the table there? You're certainly welcome to.
I guess just to start off, Dan and I talked about this last week. We kind of walked through the building. The big question is, I think it's something we can do. We can fill in over there. It's just if we want to bill them similar to CBS for the guy's time, or what your thoughts are on that. So that was the main question.
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't bill
Okay.
them for the time and the benefits. So,
Yep, and that's what we do for CBS, but we haven't been doing that for any lawn or snow since we've taken that over the last few years. So
I think when Tom and Scott come over last week, and my chief deputy was involved too, we did kind of a walkthrough, and I think your plan is to come over while Wayne's still here too.
Yep.
This week, because Wayne is done on Friday. Not to do the full-blown everything, but restrooms and certain things, vacuuming and some of the stuff we'll have to manage ourselves with, but some of the stuff that is like every other day stuff we talked about, and this is just interim until we get somebody hired. So,
well, for anybody in the public watching, the law board has a budget for custodial services, and there's really no reason why the courthouse should pick up those expenses when there's a budget already in place to be there.
so I probably should put that on the agenda then for the law board
Next
coming
Tuesday.
up, along with the other thing you sent me. So we'll put that, and then
My only question, like I talked to Scott last week after you had talked and done a walkthrough, was if this is something this is how we want to approach this long term, or do you want a full time?
I think we need a full-time
Okay.
person, I really do. I mean, if it's, we can see, but I think we definitely need a full-time person.
That was the main question. We had budgeted for a part time person, or full time person coming on like mid year this budget year because of
Okay.
expecting the courthouse expansion.
Sure.
So knowing we're not there yet with the expansion, we had the ability in the budget, if we needed to start to move that direction, that we
Yeah.
could probably cover it. What makes sense for you and
Sure.
for getting everything handled.
I
over
just
there.
think, I know there's just a lot of building there to separate, to just do it part-time, because even with your guys's, and we do appreciate you, but help us, because there's a lot of stuff that Wayne does that, we can do some of it too, but not all of it, so.
So Wayne is currently working 40 hours a week.
Mhm.
And Scott, you're gonna budget for partly, not all 40, but
No,
20 hours, or what do you?
we're just gonna have to play it by ear and see how it goes. There's some bathrooms that probably need to be cleaned every day.
Like the one in our lobby is a 24/7 lobby, so that one would probably need it every day, and then the other one's like every other day or whatever.
Yeah.
Just so, again, we all are remembering, the building is on a split. It's 70% county and 30% city for maintenance, and that's based on square footage of the building. And so if you were to take it over from a county perspective, that may be kind of a quagmire to try to work through that split, or you perhaps could just say, well, the county's gonna take care of theirs, and the city's gonna have to provide their own personnel to come in and take care of what is considered the police department part of it.
Are you talking like long-term or just?
No, let me get to my,
Okay.
so my conclusion is that I think it keeps it a lot cleaner, no pun intended, if it's a separate employee over there, especially given it would be hard for you to be rotating employees throughout based on the intricacies of the jail. There's a lot of weird little stuff that happens back in there that the custodian in the past has been responsible for.
And we haven't even talked about anything like that, so.
So the law board budget is all set up. You do the budget, you take Wayne's salary, everything out, and then it's a 73% county, 27 Waverly, but then all of Wayne's salary, benefits, and all that is split 50-50 with, so then I add in half when I do the budget for Wayne for us and half for the city. So it's split out 50-50 for the for that part of it.
Or the health insurance.
Everything like the IPERS, the FICA, all that stuff.
And who was your alternate when you went on vacation?
We were
Okay, staff, just police staff.
staff. Yeah. Yep.
That's a great point, Bob. Maybe that's something that we should be looking at, having a contract with the county to provide limited services while that person is on vacation or off time. That's something we could continue to discuss. It's never really been a problem. I guess you guys have been able to keep
No.
up with it.
Wayne's not really taking like a month off or 3 weeks in a row. He'll take like a day here and maybe a week, but he usually takes just a few days off at a time. So we, kind of manage right
It'd be a
now.
difficult employee to replace. He
Yes.
did some amazing work back in the day.
Yep.
When I was over there,
Yep.
he was a guy that could do just about anything.
Mhm. Yep.
So,
Well, I would move that Bremer County provide temporary custodial services for Bremer County Law Board and on a contract basis.
prorated to the existing
Yeah.
agreement with the city.
Is that clear, Scott? They're gonna bill, you're not gonna pick up it, you're gonna
Well,
bill them and the law board's gonna pay up.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah,
put it
I'll
on the
just-
law board agenda so we're all on the same page when we meet on Tuesday next week.
but we'll just bill you and then you do the prorating, okay?
Well,
Build a
it'll just get paid
Hold on,
out.
before we do discussion here, we need a
Okay.
I'll
second.
second for discussion.
Okay, we had a motion by Bob, second by Corey to do temporary custodial services prorated according to the current, that the sheriff will handle the breakdown of the billing for the city and the county, and you will provide the services and bill accordingly.
Yep, okay.
Does that clarify everything?
I think it would just be clear that there's already a salary, there's already something in there. I don't think we need to break it because it's already split 50-50 for the budget wise. So if that's okay, that would be the easiest. You send me a bill, I put it on the law board list of bills to reimburse the county on a monthly basis if that's,
I think Scott's concern is he doesn't really want to have to be billing the city and
Yes,
the county.
yeah.
no, he just sends it to
Yep,
law
okay.
board.
He just wants
Yep,
to
that's
send
the way I
one
agree.
bill, and that's
Exactly. Yep.
Everybody's intent.
Yep.
Yep,
That's my motion.
make it simple.
Thank you. Is there any discussion beyond what we've already had? I think we're all pretty clear on what we want,
Yeah.
so. Shelley, are you clear enough for the motion to get it stated? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That motion carries. Thank you both.
Thanks.
Appreciate you working together on it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Morning.
Morning, Landon. We have 5 minutes where we can get started.
Do you want the original one, Jacob?
Do my what?
Want the original wage sheet? Brandon brought one. It was an email one that I had.
I should probably sign the original one.
So all of our projects are on.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. They never even, didn't even bother with a quick email to say, hey, here it's coming.
Just goes to Shelley, but she'll get it to Barb, I guess.
Yeah, Scott was telling me about it yesterday.
They send it to us.
Yeah, that's good, right?
They're open, but maybe we do need to make the button disappear.
Made a change in the settings, so we should get it.
Yeah, as soon as I clicked it. Did it too fast. Rumble strips have gotten really bad, what's causing that?
Where at?
Yep. Okay.
Good question. Like they're wearing out, basically?
They kind of started when Rock was put on like last year. And then it kind of got better. And then now it's horrible.
I don't know, I'll go take a look at them.
Both sides of it.
Huh. I don't know, I guess there's enough traffic there. We see that a lot, like south of town, where we've got a lot of traffic going through those intersections, but is there a stop sign at 180th?
Not at this intersection.
Yeah, normally we see it at stop signs where trucks are slowing down and speeding up all the time, but,
And going west, there's a bridge the trucks can't even go across.
Right.
So those rumble strips on that side. They only have to be from automotives.
that's really weird. I don't know what would be causing that.
It's almost like when that rock got put on somehow or another, like, I think he get late.
Right, yeah. I don't know, I'll take a look at it.
Okay, Landon, it's 9:30. You're here for your weekly update.
Yeah, just a few things. Office update, painting and sealing is done. And flooring is planned to start on Monday, I believe. Monday the 11th? Yeah, Monday. So, we're getting close. Been a painful process, but we're getting there. Per our discussion from last week, I did put together an ordinance based on some other counties' no parking ordinances, and the first reading was on the agenda for 21st? 21st. So a couple weeks, we'll see that. Our 3 bridges that got closed out this spring were submitted to DOT for review, and they were selected. They're gonna be reviewed a little more closely, so they're getting the fine tooth comb, so we're still working through closing those out. And then the only other update I had to note is that we do have all our operators out getting the roads ready for winter time, and so that'll include blading through some dust controls. Now that that window's up, getting those shaped up to shed water this fall and through the winter. So might get some calls about that. Just have them call us. So that is all I have this morning.
We don't do any late summer, fall shoulder work
No,
gravel, do we
typically.
anymore? Yeah, I had a constituent
spring.
talk to me, and I said, I think it was either a different county or
Yeah.
state, or maybe out a project, if we had a bridge or
Yeah,
something.
and if we do occasionally, we'll reclaim a shoulder if we've got a whole bunch of rock pushed off, try and pull it up and get it packed down, but not anything extensive. That'd be a very specific area type thing.
We did B14 just a couple weeks ago. Did a little bit.
Yeah, yep.
South of Horton.
Yep. Some of those where they starting to get pushed out into the ditches, we try to pull that back up and get them packed down before winter, so we don't shove that off, but we don't rock new any
Okay,
shoulders
good.
unless there's a real bad area.
That's questionable, why for years they did.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Landon today?
Well, they had a nice retirement for David, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that turned out well.
so, a lot of people
We
were
moved
out
enough
there.
of the mess aside that it looked nice out there.
Yeah. Walked around, so got a good view of the operations out there, so.
Yeah.
And the parking, thing, is it gonna be generic, or is it just gonna be, when you bring it up, what's it?
So it'll be, essentially, I based it off a couple other counties that do this. It just lays out all of the generic overall requirements. It doesn't specify any locations. And in there it says that any specific locations have to be called out by a separate resolution. That way, if we want to add or remove no parking areas, all it takes is a resolution. We don't have to go back through the ordinance process every time.
Okay.
So, and it's got the requirements of what's in the resolution and penalties and all that sort of thing.
And
So it's fairly simple though.
So that resolution, then you're gonna follow it up with the read around the Wapsie Valley.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Basically, as soon as we pass this, I'll put a resolution on for that location that the sheriff's office requested.
So, I'm a little confused, so the resolutions will simply be addendums to the
Basically,
ordinance?
Yep, they'll reference that ordinance in each resolution.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, anything else?
Nothing else for me. You want me back at 10:45 for that one, or the summit?
Yeah, we probably wouldn't hurt.
Okay,
We'll probably discuss. I'm sure that'll come up.
okay.
Road
Yep, I'll
crossing
swing by for that one
ordinance.
then. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Landon. Okay, recess till 9:45.
Thank you.
I saw Charlie on Sunday, but never got an answer. He got interrupted with somebody else, if he was coming today or not.
I did not hear a response other than, but I did.
Yeah, he didn't reply to my text either.
Are you going to that core pipeline program in Cresco? The pipeline safety trust that
That
it's.
was in Clarksville.
Oh, there's one in Cresco is the one that I got all my stuff on. I never got the, I don't know if I ever got the Clarksville one.
Clarksville's tonight.
The 9th?
Tonight.
Tonight, okay. Cresco's tomorrow night. I wouldn't be able to do the one I'm gonna be. I've got a 5:30 here in town tomorrow night. Oh, I never got the Clarksville. The ones I've had has always been the 8th for Cresco. Like,
Yeah, and then I got Sister City tonight, so I don't know if I'll make it now.
okay. We've got football tonight here in town. It's his last home game.
Positions.
He's on kickoff coverage, and then he plays cornerback on defense. We go Thursday. We go to Lisbon. It's a late game. Like 7th grade plays at 4:15. They don't plan on 8th grade starting till 6, probably. So it'll be under the lights finish. So he's excited about that.
That's big time.
Yeah. And Dubuque next week. I think Monday night is Dubuque, I believe.
Take it.
Thanks, Brent.
Couple to sign? Did you say a couple?
It's plural.
Mary was here yesterday. It's your project.
I see why Cresco is for Bremer County, but,
Oh, that's where they divide the regions.
yeah,
Okay.
I assume it's the same stuff.
Two or 3 years ago, there was one, they had it at the Civic Center here in Waverly, Ken went.
Is he out there?
Morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
We have a public hearing regarding ordinance 2504.
Move that we go into public hearing?
Second.
Roll call.
Ronkhorst,
Aye.
Serwinski,
Aye.
Hildebrandt,
Aye. Public hearing is open. Have you had any written or?
I have not had any response in favor or against this rezone.
I have not. Have either supervisor received any comments?
I haven't.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Move that we close the public hearing?
I'll second.
Moved by Bronkhorst, second by Corey to close the public hearing. A roll call.
Ronkhorst,
Aye.
Serwinski,
Aye.
Hildebrandt.
Aye. Okay,
Move to approve second reading ordinance 2504 and waive the third reading.
Second.
thank you, Corey and Bob. Any discussion?
And once again, Lindsay, they're just going to reparcel this so the son can build on the,
So the parcel is already in existence. They're just rezoning the parcel so he can build on it. Yep.
so they can build a house on it.
Correct.
So, no issues from your department and everything is good.
Correct.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Roll call for ordinance.
I never ever have, but. Mr. County Attorney, is it a roll call for an ordinance or is it a open vote?
That's a great question. I can look it up, but I.
In my 13 and a half years, we've never done a roll call on that, but
Doesn't hurt
doesn't
either.
mean it's right or wrong.
Right.
Go ahead and do a roll call, and could you look it up for us and
Sure,
confirm?
absolutely.
Ronkhorst,
Aye.
Serwinski,
Aye.
Hildebrandt.
Aye. So a little bit kind of odd in a forum like this when there's 3 people voting and it's pretty obvious how the vote is, but I get it. If it's code, we'll follow it. Okay, we also have a request for public hearing for 2505 for Farmers Wing Co-op. Is there a motion?
Move to open the public hearing for regarding ordinance 2505.
Second.
Roll call?
Runkhorst.
Aye.
Serwinski.
Aye.
Hildebrand.
Aye. Public hearing is open. Have you received any written or oral
I have not.
comments?
Have not.
Supervisors received any?
No.
Auditor? You guys have had any conversation, anything come up? Have you had a chance to talk to the neighbors?
We did, yes. Just one concern about, just
You
keeping
want
the
to
dust.
come up closer to the
Sorry,
mic?
We spoke with the neighbors, adjacent landowners, and just one concern about dust control, which will be taken care of appropriately. Besides that, everyone was in agreement that, no objections anyway, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you reaching out and
Yeah.
just touching base and making sure everything is good. So
Sure.
awesome.
You're welcome.
Any other comments for public hearing? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Corey, second by Bob, to close the public hearing, roll call.
Runkhorst.
Aye.
Serwinski.
Aye.
Hildebrand.
Aye. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2505.
Do you want to include waiving a third, or do you want to go through this again?
I think since we've had the neighbors speak in, so we'll waive the third.
Second your motion.
Moved by Brunkhorst, second by Corey, to approve this second reading and waive the third reading on ordinance 2505. Roll call?
Well,
Runkhorst.
maybe just since we're on cable, could you go ahead or just tell us a little bit about the project before we do the final vote?
Yeah, this will be a card troll or a on-man fueling site for Farmers Wing Co-op, used by the co-op itself for the Bremer facility and for the public. It'll provide gas and diesel to the area and have above-ground storage tanks. It's kind of the gist of
Your
it.
construction, if this passes, would start,
Sure, construction would probably start in probably 10 business days with the dirt work and the cement work. We hope to have the facility operational by the end of the year.
great. So, another good opportunity for people to fill up, and anybody could use it.
Yes, anybody could use it with credit card or a Farmers Win co-op card.
Okay.
You bet.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, roll call.
Runkhorst.
Aye.
Serwinski.
Aye.
Hildebrand.
Aye. Okay, that finalizes it from our perspective. Now you just need to get the permits and such from Lynn, and everything should be good.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks.
I don't have anything else other than I did receive an environmental covenant from the DNR, a template for that artesian well out on C33. So I forwarded that on to Darius for his review, and that's where we're at for that artesian well that they wanted us to cap. So now we're just gonna look at the environmental covenant route instead of interrupting that wetland area.
That was already settled. Not settled?
I guess not.
So that's all I got.
So we were told, once again, we were told to cap it, and
We were told to cap it, and then I think it was Kip Ladegi brought it to our attention that there's a lot of endangered species and that's a habitat there. So capping it is not an ideal option.
Well, and that thing's been there for 100 years. And for one individual to drive by and see it, it's a conversation that we have legislators coming in and they need to know that that's a conversation, so.
If I may clarify, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Darius, you wanna come up and?
Sure. Actually, the confusion is actually deeply rooted at the state level, as one might expect. Because it wasn't even Kip Ledegi who came to the conclusion, if memory serves me correctly, one half of DNR said to cap it. The other half of DNR said, no, you can't cap it because of the endangered species, both under federal and state law, that are present there. And so in that case, the left hand literally didn't know what the right hand was doing, and we were getting competing guidances. The overall conclusion from a liability standpoint was that we were probably better off not capping it because of running afoul of the endangered species problems.
That'd be a federal issue.
What was
Amongst other things, yes.
What was the allegation or the potential damage of it continuing to exist just as it is today for the person to say you should be capping it? But I don't remember what I don't believe I ever read what their analysis was for the reasoning why it should be capped.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there was some worry about contamination of the groundwater through the well, and problems with the water table over the long term.
Like a backflow, chemicals coming in might go down, so.
If flow was to ever stop, because there was no backflow
Yeah.
prevention.
So roughly 100 years of history isn't good enough. We go by 100-year flood plans, but we can't go by 100-year artesian well. But I'm being sarcastic. I know that. I shouldn't. But
So, Lindsay, so now what did you get from the DNR?
It's an environmental covenant. They sent a template over for Darius to review, and
To make it, so we don't have to cap it, we just have to,
that way it runs with the land if Bremer County ever sells that, even though it's pretty much in the right
It's
of
in the
way.
right of way.
So
it's totally in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Significantly. I mean, no way we would ever let that go, probably.
we'd have to close the road.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be a fun topic.
that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker Grassley, welcome. We got 5 minutes before.
Oh, no, I'm
Prompt as
better,
usual.
yeah, at least I'm not late today. I was a little nervous. I made it.
Given that you had to follow the detour.
I know the detour well, and I'm sure you all do too. Not Bob, he gets to be on this, so he's right here. He's easy going. He doesn't have to worry about it to get here. You're good.
Due for the grocery store.
Well, that's true.
So I text Sandy, I don't know where she's at right now, but hopefully she'll be joining us too.
I'm good.
Then we'll have you come up
Sandy's.
up front.
Sandy, we're down the hall now.
Yep, there she is.
At some point. We should.
Senator Salmon, welcome.
Hi, good to see you.
We'll start here in about 2 minutes, but you can sit right here.
Okay, all right, good to see you, Bob.
Good to see you.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Morning, Bob.
Hi, Sally.
Just your.
Good to see you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
No, great.
Yeah,
We gotta
thanks.
get some ears down there.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Just a little.
Yeah, we're pretty settled, so,
I'm gonna see if I can
yeah,
get there tonight.
doing good.
Minors. Sure.
Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Those-
Brent, would you
So just-
grab a chair or two out of the
Sure.
closet right behind you there?
I'd love to talk about it.
Thank you.
I'll look at it.
Pat, you can sit here.
Charlie's not.
About this. You're on the right track. Okay, then let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email.
Thank you.
Charlie?
Oh, all three of us today? Oh my goodness.
See,
I have a feeling
Charlie?
that, does Charlie want the middle chair so he can be the center of attention or not?
Oh, is he one?
Go ahead, Charlie, here you go.
Glad I remembered. And just remind you guys, we are going to be broadcasting this later, so don't say any jokes about me.
Well, does that matter if you're broadcasting whether we do that or not? We gotta have a little fun. All right, we'll shoot him at Dewey instead.
I'm good with it. Remember, they can come back at you.
What are you saying?
good, good,
How was your trip?
really good, really good.
Did you bring us back any presents?
How long?
My smiling face.
Yeah, how long were you gone?
16 days.
Oh.
So it was kind of a
Okay,
trip
it's
of a life.
10 a.m. We have Speaker Grassley, we have Representative Thompson, and Senator Salmon with us this morning. Welcome. We appreciate you coming and listening, and hopefully we can have a back and forth conversation. We'll express maybe some of our concerns about potential legislative issues or things that perhaps could be changed, and we'll hear from you about how that process works and why and how and why not sometimes. So if you want to just, for the purposes of the recording, if you want to just introduce yourself real quickly. I'm Gadsden, everybody knows you, but
Okay. I'm Sandy Salmon, State Senator for Senate District Number 29, which includes Bremer County.
thank you.
Charlie Thompson, House District 58, which includes the nice part of Bremer County.
Pat Grassley, representing the western half of Bremer County.
Thank you again for joining us. I guess if you want, we'll just let you start out. We have 45-minute time block. I don't know if that fits into your schedules or not for the full 45 minutes. If do any one of you have to leave sooner than that, we'll let you go first. Otherwise, we'll just maybe have you talk about what we can expect or what might be happening down there, and then we'll start asking some questions.
Okay. Well, we haven't had a lot of introductory information for the beginning of the session, but we have been told that there will need to be some serious look at the budget. There may need to be some cutbacks in some areas. And so they're still digging into, exactly what those may look like. So we don't have a real clear picture right now. It's just a 30,000-foot view, but we will be finding out more as the session gets closer. But the cuts that were put in place in the One Big Beautiful Bill that was passed earlier, which we do want to see federal government trimmed, but there's also going to be impact to the states. And so we will probably have to be looking at where or if or where we would be needing to maybe make up some shortfalls or partially make up some shortfalls. So that's, budget-wise, that's kind of what we've been told. And so, then there's concern about that's going to impact what we're able to do with property taxes. And so we're we're just having to find out more about how those cuts will impact us, and then be able to look at property taxes and see what we might be able to do to relieve the burden on people, which we're hearing from a lot of people about the property tax burden. So.
Well, from what I'm hearing from my constituents and my sense of the people I've spoken to in the caucus is there's a lot of demand for property tax reform. But details on that, I don't know. There are a lot of different ideas floating around. The other issues I'm hearing about are something probably right out of the gate on the pipeline, the carbon dioxide pipeline. And there's a lot of pressure for doing something about the different problems in the K-12 schools and with the Regents institutions. So that's what I'm hearing.
Thank you.
So I think from our standpoint, and Sandy said that we haven't, similar to the Senate, we haven't had our pre-session caucuses. Typically, we will have two between now and when session starts, at least in the House. That's how we will probably move forward. And I think that, like Sandy said, obviously property tax is going to be the number one issue that's on everyone's mind going into it. I've seen there's a lot of, if you look at numbers, whether it's taxpayer organizations, polling numbers that are being shared, it is an issue that voters not only care about, but they're actually planning on making decisions on how they vote in the upcoming election. Not to say we do things just based on what polling looks like, but we understand based on just what we're hearing on the ground, it reinforces that. And so from our perspective, I think they're both right. Something I would just expect, especially in this meeting sense, expect that will be something that's real. Not that it wasn't real last session, but as I've shared so many times, it's so difficult, as you know, to find what that balance looks like. You're not the only entities. I'm not blaming the counties solely. I'm not blaming the cities, the schools. Everybody's tied in together with that. So we don't want you to feel like when you leave here that we were shooting that all directly at the county. That's not where at least I am, and I don't think they are either. But I think that from the standpoint of what we're hearing and the amount of pressure that we're getting on that issue, I would be absolutely stunned if we did not do something this year on property tax. Now, what that looks like, I think Charlie's right. There's a lot of different proposals and plans. What I've been saying is it has to be something that's simple to understand because it is such a complex system. I think it's one of the places we fell into a trap last session is we were so far into the weeds, and what I found is the farther you go into the weeds, you fix 3 problems, you create 4 more, you fix those 4, now you've created 2, and it just seems to be a pushing of the balloon, and where does it go from the other side? So my objective, just not only as the House District 57, but as Speaker, is to have something that's much more easily understood, so that way, even if we don't all agree on what it is, everyone can say, okay, we know what the impacts are, we know what it's going to look like going forward, not, well, there's 30 unanswered questions. I don't want us to walk away and have a bill that we pass that leaves us in a worse position than where maybe the current system is. But Sandy touched on the budget, and she is correct. We're looking at a budget situation with $3.75 corn, $10 soybeans, that we are seeing a reduction in our revenue to the state. At the same time, we're seeing a drastic continued increase in our Medicaid spending. It wouldn't be a meeting that I'm at where we didn't talk about the impacts that Medicaid spending has on the state. We're looking at upwards of potentially a $200 million Medicaid shortfall that we will have to fund due to usage on the program. We've done a good job coming out of COVID to making sure that the people that are on the program are the people that need it. The problem is everyone that's left on it, which is roughly 1 in 5 Iowans, are the most expensive individuals to serve when it comes to the program. And so that's one of the things on, not only is there a revenue issue because a lot of things are tied, it's not just the farmers, but it's all the impacts of things down the road, looking at John Deere, looking at manufacturers in the area that supply John Deere, supply other manufacturers in the area. That's where we're starting to see that revenue impact be more of a concern than what maybe it has been in the last several years. And then at the same time, looking at facing a $200 million shortfall, but and put that into context on Medicaid, that's more money than, let's see, that's roughly a similar amount of money that we put into K-12 education each year, maybe give or, depending upon the year, obviously. But it's not that much of a difference just on the Medicaid side. So as we walk in on day one, we always say this, we're roughly 80% of the budget is obligated between education and Medicaid, and that number has continued to grow on the Medicaid side. When I was elected, when Bob would have served in the legislature and came out, and I kind of came in at the same time, K-12 education was the first thing we looked at in the budget, and there's reasons why. But now to look at that first thing in the budget, which is education, you have to look at the Medicaid spending at the same time. So when it comes to us putting together the budget, that has changed due to that pressure that we've had on that side of the budget. So I'll let you guys open it up so I don't just filibuster the time. So, but that's kind of an update I have.
I'm gonna start and I'm gonna go totally different from what you might guess that I would start with. Only because I think that it impacts so many of our youth in the entire state, but what in the world can be done to keep the disaster that happened at the Des Moines public school system to ever not happen again in this state? I don't want to be in the national news for the reason we're in the national news. And it seems like there's something totally wrong with the headhunter model that many of the larger school districts use. Our school districts do amazing work, but that is a disaster, and that should have never happened. So, thoughts?
Can I go, or you might if I go or not?
Up to you.
I'll go first. Well, should I let you go first and then I see if I have to rein you in or not?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll go. You go first, but then I might
Then
jump
you'll
in.
clean
We'll
up.
see. Yeah, I'll clean up. Yeah.
Okay. We don't know, first of all, what all the failures were, because new stuff is popping up every day. But it looks like there was a failure at a lot of different levels. There's an old movie, W.C. Fields, You Can't Cheat an Honest Man. There were a lot of people who wanted to believe something, and they were taken in, and they overlooked things. So we're going to be digging. There were databases, I think, that weren't checked. In fact, I'm pretty confident of that. So if you have someone who's dishonest coming into the system, you have to root it out very early, and that did not happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we find that there were several levels of government that failed here. That fair?
That was yes. No cleanup for me there. I will say the one unique thing about this from the standpoint of, to your question, Dewey, is, so Charlie is our government oversight chair. So we've already asked to make sure that all the records and documents are being kept by the Des Moines Public School District. And I don't want anyone to think that we're just picking on there's a narrative that we're just going after them because they're the largest school district and we don't maybe disagree with them on everything. But there is a failure of leadership here that's happened at many different levels, and I think Charlie's right. And our expectation would be, I don't know what the timeline looks like, because every day, almost every hour, it seems like we're learning more that even now it sounds like the school district has even admitted that they looked the other way with some things that they even knew maybe weren't 100% honest or upfront just in the resume application process. And so we're trying not to rush to judgment, even though I think there's a lot of things here. We are going to look very closely at this system, not just for Des Moines, but I think we need to be looking at the way we do this all across Iowa, because this is borderline a national embarrassment type thing, because we're getting all the coverage that we are. We don't want to look like this is how Iowa school districts do that, because I don't think that that's how they approach things. But like Charlie said, when you want to believe something and you set out with a goal in mind on maybe who you want to hire, and when you start overlooking things and more continues to come out, those are the kind of things, as far as the legislature, we're going to make sure we uncover all those things. Now, if the follow-up question is, what are we going to do? I don't want to, and I think Charlie and I are on the same page. We don't want to just rush to judgment and say, we're doing this, and this today. Because we need to know all the facts of what happened here. We know something happened. Let's find out what those facts are. And I just have said the legislature reserves the right to leave everything on the table at this point in time.
Yeah, it seems to me.
The department examiners issued him a certificate.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, that's.
And I think, to Charlie's point, we've got to look at all of it.
So.
Yeah, the system has to be better.
Federal and state law since 1965 has said very clearly you cannot hire somebody based on racial criteria. Yet there are, I think probably to this very moment, on the Des Moines Public Schools websites, criteria for hiring based on race.
We have affirmative action laws still on the books in the state of Iowa and have had them for some time, and I think those kind of drive the conversation too, or the situation, or at least lay the groundwork for a situation like this to happen. But I think no matter what, we'll find systemic failures, I'm sure, and address them to try to correct them. But the people of that school district are going to have to address the situation of who they put on their school board. Because school boards are ultimately responsible, and you can have a really good system, but if you have people in it that perhaps are trying not to see what's in front of them, that's an issue, and that has to be resolved by the people of that school district in whom they elect to be on their school boards. So you have a systemic problem, and that's something the state can address. But then the people problem, that's something that there's a shared responsibility there between the state and the school district and the people of that district.
To your question, Bob, I think just for clarification's sake, we aren't going to just focus on the school district. It's going to be much broader well, I'm not speaking for Charlie, but in some of it's going to be broader than just going after Des Moines Public School District. There's multiple layers here.
Yeah,
So,
and I've used search firms before on other boards I've served on, and you try to believe them, but obviously this resume was so rosy, so golden, that no one could do that.
Yeah.
There's,
Well,
super
then-
spy, and
Then you have to look at the search firm you're using.
that's, they are
Yeah.
having litigation against them,
Mhm.
and both in Iowa and in Pennsylvania, so that's a good thing, put some on notice.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're looking at it. Property taxes. Last year, it seemed to me last year, your residential caused some issues. You really, like you said, you were doing things very complex, and I think it caused residential shifts in areas. Your property tax relief was all really, you try to limit the growth of cities and counties. You put a lot of money into schools, and that was where the property tax relief was. Didn't really it didn't have much effect on schools per se, but it did limit our growth. So, once again, I would advise you guys to be careful with residential. Don't do anything real crazy, but make sure it's, if you do a rollback on that, like 60%, 50 or 60%, keep it commercial around, whatever percent you want, 90 or 100. But make sure that if, I kind of like the direction you guys are going, that you give us some type of percentage growth, but making sure that if the new growth that we have, we capture all of it. That's even when a city, retires a TIF, the county should be able to capture all that as new growth, not as incremental growth. If there's been changes in tax valuation from non-exempt to exempt, we should be able to capture that all. But there's some areas probably, when I talk to other supervisors, I don't know if you guys really want to reduce, heavy production ag buildings to see them have a decrease, because they're costing us a lot in road damage, and windmills are probably another thing. So I don't know, I'm putting words of caution out there. I'm not sure if those, they're great things, but I'm not sure if they really deserve a tax cut, because right now they're costing counties a lot on roads, et cetera. So, it could be like windmills, you may have to up the replacement percentage from 30% to 30.1, or whatever, but maybe there's some room there. So what's in your framework? What's your goals?
You know this area better than anybody in the States.
that's not true. This is an area that I'm not sure any of us fully comprehend. I would just say, here's, based on kind of my opening comment, Bob, and trying to answer that question, I would say we have to do something that provides certainty to the taxpayer. And what I've said, and I've said this in caucus, is we've always tried to approach this and try to keep everyone happy and come up with a solution that everyone walks away from and feels like they got to win. I don't know how you actually address the certainty for the taxpayer without maybe changing what the current system looks like in a way that, yeah, we'll all get through it and we'll figure out what it looks like. But again, I don't think we can do it in a way that we tried to last year, which was very uncertain, because there are even some impacts in that bill that would have seen increases, which the last thing we want to be doing is fix a system that comes up with increases, especially whether it's on residential, which some runs maybe showed that it would have. And so from my perspective is, how do we get our, as I go into this, just me, and then how I would like to try to lead the caucuses, we have to provide certainty for the taxpayer. We're not saying that local governments don't serve a role. We're not saying local governments don't deserve to have new money coming in. But at the same time, the stories that we're hearing, and I'm sure you guys are too, so I'm not trying to talk down to you, but of people that are worried about, how do I long-term stay in a house? What is this? What's happening because of my assessment? And all of these conversations, that's where we want to find certainty and do it in a way that we all can understand. I know I keep repeating that, but that is the one thing that I walked away from last year, that I plan on being more involved with this year, is just making sure that whatever we do, we can understand and we can explain. Because if we can't go out and explain it, you can't go out and explain it, we really haven't done anything productive at that point in time. So from, I guess, my ultimate goal is that there's certainty for the taxpayer. So to your question, certainty for the taxpayer, understanding that, you know, capturing new growth is a perfect example of things that we missed in some of our past pieces of legislation. Looking at that, I will also say that it shouldn't just be a property tax conversation around cities and counties. It needs to be all three of the major taxing entities that are at your property tax. That's how we plan on approaching it. I don't know what that looks like ultimately, but I fully recognize, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that it, you know, I know that the cities and counties, you guys probably feel like you take a lot of the blame, but the schools also are a major property tax component of this conversation. So I think as we enter it, everyone's on the table, we see what that looks like, come out with some certainty that allows you to have certainty, give certainty to the taxpayer. I know that was just kind of political speaking, I don't mean it to be that way, but I don't know what the specific plan looks like today. If I had something more to share with, hey, here's what we plan on approaching, or here's what we plan on introducing as a bill, but that's the philosophy I guess I'm trying to bring to the conversation.
Is there any initiative to do away with property taxes completely and go with a different tax, sales tax? I believe there's that initiative going on in Florida. The conversation, at least, is going on in Florida. It seems like that is a lot fairer tax, because we people in Iowa get punished for doing the right thing and making our places nicer.
Yeah.
You do an addition on your house, you pay more. You put a new roof on, you pay more. And it punishes you for keeping things nice. And so is property taxes still the fairest way to generate the revenue to support all those services, or do you need to take a deeper dive into what?
Well, I think part of,
Well,
go ahead, Sandy, I've already talked about.
That, well, just that is something I've talked to our Ways and Means chair about, is finding a different stream of revenue for counties so that we can actually substantially, if possible, reduce property taxes, and yet counties could still have the money they need to operate. So I have talked to them about, raising the sales tax, and giving a portion of that to the counties, or some kind of a solution like that. And that way your sales tax is, that way more people, because all the people pay sales tax, then they share in the burden of providing for all of the services that counties provide for the citizens. So that is something I have suggested, and I think a couple years ago that was part of one of the property tax proposals that we had, and I still think it's a good idea, an idea worth considering. I don't like to talk about raising taxes, but you know, the property taxes, the burden falls on so few people. And they're the ones that are providing much of the cost for the services. So it just seems like a sales tax would allow more people to share in paying for the cost of those services. And I know what you always hear is, well, it's a regressive tax and it hurts the you know, people that don't make as much and can't spend as much. But we've already blunted the effect of the sales tax in that food, the most basic necessity, is not subject to sales tax. So, you know, I think we've done our best to make the sales tax a attractive source of revenue that I think we should look at seriously to substitute for property taxes so that we can, or at least for some of the property taxes anyway. Again, this would be a thing where you'd have to run the numbers to see what could be done, and the budget would impact on it as well. But I think it's something we should look at doing.
I like that approach, Sandy. I've thought about that too, where it broadens the base of input because all consumers will be providing. But that drives another concern then we've watched for the local option as we've seen our more metro communities and counties really thrive. We've seen a lot of new schools built off that revenue because of where shopping centers are and, you know, where dollars are spent regionally. And so looking at that, how those local options or however we would do that are allocated back if it's based on population, not where the dollar is spent. Because otherwise we would be in rural Iowa, we would just be furthering our demise and our decline.
So
model.
you're saying there'd have to be some way to kind of funnel.
Consumer spends money, maybe they live in Bremer, but they're spending in Blackhawk for their consumables or what, you know, major purchases, but you know, those dollars then are benefiting that neighboring county. And so, you know, some of that comes back to consumerism habits and where you choose to spend your money. But we know there's just not the variety and the options everywhere in the rural parts of the state. And so using the current sales tax model to do that would honestly take away from the more rural areas even further.
And that's, and to that point, I think, Dewey, to your question, in an ultimate world, is it the fairest tax? It's absolutely not. There are other states looking at it. They have different economies than what we do here in the state of Iowa, especially a place like Florida, obviously, is going to have. But to Corey's point, you know, just under 20 years ago, I was one of a handful of Republicans that voted to take that statewide penny because it used to just be stay where it was at. So if, like you said, Corey, if you spend the money in Bremer, it stays in Bremer. Spend it in Butler, whatever it was, well, a lot of money if it gets spent in Blackhawk or in the Polk County. So I voted that we take that statewide. But the problem, I remember what a fight that was early in my legislative career to make sure that that money is distributed statewide equally, because the big counties are not going to want to give it up. If we go to that model, they're going to make the argument of, well, we have all the traffic here. We need to keep that money here. We no longer have the property tax source. I think in a perfect world, it's the way we should try to work. But I've been through the battle of trying to offset sales tax and get that distributed statewide. And it's so difficult to do. And we still have to fight to protect it to this day to make sure that it doesn't end up in a situation where we've taken this a statewide penny and now all of a sudden it gets back to, because trust me, those big areas, they would love nothing more than to keep collecting it and not have to have the redistribution that has to happen with that. But keep in mind from that penny, and one of the things that we need to continue to look at is when we pass that money could be used for infrastructure for school districts, but also there was a component of that needed to be used, and I can't remember the exact language of what we've looked at over the last 20 years, that money was also used to offset property tax. And maybe that's another thing we need to continue to dig into. What does that look like? Do we just need to keep using it for infrastructure, for new facilities, if it's not being used for property tax? Because that's a significant amount of money that is going to the schools that, not all schools, but I think sometimes the schools use it to do things because it's there versus one of the uses that it could be, which is property tax on occasion.
Well, I have a couple points on that. One, I think we need to look not just at the taxation, but at the spending. And while I know that Bremer County has a perfect budget and never spends money unwisely. It's been alleged that some of the other 98 counties aren't doing it as well. And there are two things I'd like to at least look at. One is some sort of mandated zero-based budgeting from time to time, and where there's a serious look at is all the spending that has historically been carried over, same as last year, this is still wise. Then again, Bremer County is exempt, but it's been suggested that some school districts may build buildings that are unwise. Weight rooms, for example, have been alleged. Maybe $40 million weight rooms are excessive. I don't know. But maybe a certificate of need system. Then the final thing is what really drives people, I think, the craziest among at least my constituents, because it's older in my areas than a lot of the state, is heavy taxation on unrealized gains. You can say it a bunch of different ways, but the addition to the house, it's an unrealized gain. You have the addition, but you've increased the value of your house by 1.5, but it's not money in your pocket, and yet you're going to be taxed on it. And that we don't on a lot of different areas of the economy, but we do on real estate, and it drives people crazy.
So I agree with all of that. But your constituents are our constituents. And while our constituents and your constituents are telling you that they want property tax cuts, ours are doing the same thing, and oftentimes, I don't hear that as much as I hear other things, honestly. But then we turn around and we do the essential services where you expect us, not you three, but the state expects us to tax our citizens 75 cents per thousand, up to 75 cents per thousand on their property to provide a service. And some want it and some absolutely, I have people that are totally opposed to it and some are very much for it because they want to know that there's an ambulance coming. But aren't we sort of taking a broken system and breaking it further by simply adding more tax on to provide that service? You're just passing it on to us at the local level for us to have to tell our constituents, yeah, your taxes are going up pretty significantly.
Absolutely. It's funny.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right. And this is the funny thing, and I share this. We have a candidate that was just elected who was a mayor when he ran, and I don't want to waste our time with this, but it puts into context what you're saying. When he was mayor of a town in Iowa, he said all everybody was mad about is their streets getting plowed and their garbage getting picked up. Well, while being mayor but running for a different office, he said all people want to talk about is their property taxes. And that puts into context, I think, what we face and you face. You hear from it, but your complaint is probably, why is this road not open over here?
It's a great analogy.
And that is where we find ourselves in a kind of a collective throw your hands up sometimes, and it is frustrating. So I do fully recognize that. And we have done some things that we have passed to allow counties to do things, which, like you said, like the EMS, that we've done to allow counties to do things. The only thing that, it's still the county has to make that collective decision, but the problem is, on the one side, it gets back to what we just said, they want that service, but then at our forum, they're gonna say, look at my property tax, but why is this happening? I fully recognize that.
We don't do a lot of TIF, but, and I was looking this weekend, I couldn't fully understand. You guys didn't pass any TIF changes last year, major overhauls, like exempt school finance formula dollars from TIF? That didn't pass last year.
There was TIF conversations with property tax kind of at the same time, but nothing finalized.
Yeah. So that's gonna be on the board, I assume, too, again.
I've been doing, anytime we talk about TIF, I have found that for some reason is one of the hardest things to do. The problem is the ones that are using TIF right and using it well get lumped in with those that are probably stretching the limits of what TIF was originally created for. And that's always the balance that we have to try to find. And I think ultimately why very rarely nothing ever happens on TIF. And I don't know if you're necessarily asking us to do something specifically, Bob, but that's where I bet in my time in the legislature, we tried a dozen times to modernize the TIF system, but it just ends up into that spiral. So I don't know if there will be an active initiative to do something, but every time we've tried, it's kind of fallen into that. Everybody's firing at each other and it just kind of falls apart.
It seems like we did something small.
We've done some small
Yeah.
tweaks with it, but like
Yeah.
an overall
Yeah,
change in the
2 years
system.
ago, didn't we do something?
Yeah, the overall, like, the fundamental use of the system, we've looked at like permanent TIFs and some of those other things, but not like a holistic remodel of the TIF system. I just think that's a hard conversation to have.
Okay.
If there's something you want us to look at though, let us know. If there's something
Well, it all
specifically.
plays into, I mean, one thing, and this is with your property tax, how can you incentivize, or you gotta keep this incentive to
Yeah.
grow Iowa?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
the tip bill last year, that 1037, really kind of, say, okay, it's school foundation formula is going away from it. May have some dramatic effect on, is TIF going to be used in the future?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what you guys can do. I mean, there's changes that you do, make sure that you incentivize some carrot for cities and counties to take risk to grow in population.
well, one of the biggest problems we have, and I don't want to monopolize your guys' time, is the fact that there's growth happening in certain pockets of the state, and it's a handful of them. That's the ultimate problem. Whatever conversation we have, we could be at a supervised meeting, school board meeting, a town forum. What's the ultimate problem here is we see growth in basically 2 or 3 counties. Not that we're not having growth here, so I'm not being critical. I'm just saying the kind of growth you need to sustain, the kind of increases you need in enrollment, the kind of property tax base that you need. I've been fighting for 15 years with some of my colleagues to say, has Polk County got enough? What about the rest of us out here? That's the problem with the current system that we have is, yeah, and then you look at it and you break it down, and by the time you dilute it over the 90 other counties, yes, every other county did get incentives and did get help. But the real problem that we face in the state of Iowa for a lot of these things is making sure we're having growth in other parts of the state.
Amen to that.
Because it's just happening in certain pockets, and it's so frustrating. But again, it gets back to what we face. As people move, they get more representation. There's less of us that represent 4 counties, 2.5 counties, 2 counties. That's the real problem here. Now, you didn't have me here to go on my soapbox, so I better stop before Charlie has to rein me in. But it is so frustrating that we have to have growth in these other counties to be competitive and to avoid some of these problems that we have in our more rural counties. There, I got it off my chest, Dewey. Thank you,
for
Mr. Chairman, for
saying
allowing me to do that.
Feel better?
I do.
Totally agree with
It's
you.
so frustrating, yes.
If we don't have that growth, we all have to pay more,
Yeah.
or we cut services. And I hear from my constituents that they don't want less gravel. They don't want the snowplow to come back by once a week. They want it to come by within the hour when snow has started. So, I get it, and we need substantial growth. I wonder if we could switch gears a little bit. Last year and the years previous, you worked for a long time on redesigning the behavioral health services. And I think there was an ongoing plan to do something with public health and other entities as well. I'm wondering if that's gonna kind of be put on the slow train now, or is public health redesign still coming quickly? Because, I think the jury's still out on the success of the behavioral health redesign. For instance, if I had someone walk in here today and say, I want to know who to contact for a mental health issue, I would have no idea other than telling them Iowa primary care. I wouldn't know a phone number, I wouldn't know anything. So I'm not certain that it made life better for my rural constituent with the behavioral health changes that took place. I'm not saying they didn't, but there's no evidence that I have that says that it did.
So what I'm wondering is, I think, Bob, you contacted me about this issue with the redesign that went live on July 1st. The HHS department was supposed to set up a contact or a way of getting, informing counties of what was going on and what they could expect and to help you all plan for what was coming. And so that was during the session and it was very busy, so I don't know whatever happened with that. Did they ever get with you guys about what they were doing and how it was going?
Every time that I ask a question, there was no answer. Rules are still being written and we don't know the answer to that.
And that's what they would say. They not even like keeping you in the loop of kind of what.
They had town hall meetings, web meetings.
But did they answer any questions at those town hall meetings?
That's the problem.
Supervisor Broncourt. They had a lot of questions and they took notes, but you never heard answers.
I think the first email we received after July 1st was early September with points of contact for service that Lindley had forwarded out to us from our Department of Health, so almost 2 months after the start of the operations.
So.
So the question is are we gonna slow down the transition of public health too? Because our public health department is very minimal, it doesn't cost us a ton, and it does some pretty amazing work. So,
As far as anything moving forward, and since these two have been so long-winded, they've monopolized all the time, I want to talk a little, but Charlie's used to that. But I don't know of anything as far as moving forward. What I would say on the changes that we've made, the expectation was that they're the same, duplication of services and a lot of the things that we've talked about in the past, making sure there was access in different parts of the state that didn't exist by going to more of a regionalized system. If there are things that aren't working, I mean, I don't live in that space on a daily basis, so if there are things that are working, whether it's from you guys or anyone in the courthouse with some of these redesigns, please let us know what they are, because I'm not saying we can fix everything, but I want to know what they are, because I don't know if I do know. So if there are, and I don't know, we obviously don't have time to vet all those right this second, but if there are, please somebody follow up with us on what maybe isn't working with the changes that we've made, so we're aware of them. Otherwise, I will have no way to know what they are.
well, here's a good example, and one that touches right back to property taxes. Our region provided, our counties, the 9 counties in our region, provided behavioral health drugs to inmates from all of those counties. At the time that the regions quit in June 30th, when I was still on the board, we were told that there was no intention of doing that with the new system. Guess what? That's a property tax increase for everybody that lives in Bremer County.
Okay.
Because the drugs still have to be administered to the inmates.
Yeah.
So,
If you could put, I'm not trying to put a task on you, but since you brought it up, if there are things that you can bring to us as examples, I think we would all appreciate that.
Just anecdotally, taking off my state rep hat and putting on member of the board of Rosecrans hat, which operates Jackson in western Iowa. At least from what's been reported to the boards, is that they're still rolling it out, and Rosecrans does behavioral health in Iowa. And what I heard from the people on the ground is they think it's going to be an improvement, but it's still so new they don't know. So
I hope you're right, and I hope they're right. I can't say I'm optimistic, but I hope that they're right.
But as situations come up that are problems, let me know.
Okay. Corey, you have.
I love calling up those people and saying, what's going on?
Minutes, so.
Just the one thing I want to touch on, and when we talk about property tax reform, is just please, preserve our tools at the local level to make decisions. And we've had some conversations about regionalization of services, some things that are maybe duplicative across counties, especially more rural counties. I know there's a few counties talking about like maybe joining sanitarians and some other services this year. So anything that we do that, possibly even finding ways to incentivize that behavior and thought process, that we can look at services that maybe aren't fully utilized but could be in a multi-county setting or a regional setting. But definitely don't take away those tools that we have to look at what are our options to reduce our obligations.
Yeah, one of the things too that I've had some meetings looking at, because we're hearing a lot, and you guys I'm sure too, a lot of our small counties trying to upgrade infrastructure when it comes to water and sewer. I mean, that's a big thing for those of us that represent rural districts. One of the things that I think we should be looking at, and it's preliminary, so I don't know if I know what the final landing spot is, you know, we provide a lot of, very low to virtually no interest loans through IFA, for example. We need to be looking at making sure we're doing that, some of it regionalized, and making sure that those incentives are being used that can go much further, so that we can impact more communities. That's something, I don't know, I'm assuming you guys hear a lot of that, but we hear a lot about the upkeep of infrastructure when it comes to a lot of our small communities. What do those incentives look like today, and are they going as far as they can to make sure that we're helping? And are they modernized to make sure that if there's an ability to share, we can do it cheaper and impact more communities? We should be doing that. So that's just an example of something that is on my radar, but I know you guys have asked us before, because I think you guys said we have 45 minutes. If there are any things as far as, and I'm sure you could have a list of 50, of mandates that we put on you guys that you would ask for us to look at as we're having this property tax conversation, I would do that now during this conversation. And I can't, again, no commitments from the standpoint of what we can do, but I think the time to have that conversation is while we're having a conversation about property taxes.
Public safety interoperability. The state put someone put a directive on that everybody had to join this high-level interoperable system. Our system was working just fine. We could talk within the county just fine, but to get out, to be able to talk with others, we had to join the system. $7 million. $7 million later, our property taxpayers paid for, I believe it was 5 years. We took out a loan for 5 years.
Okay.
So they're going to see that hit on their property taxes and be very angry for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because we had to spend $7 million. I think it was equal up in Chickasaw County.
Same employee.
Did we really need to do that? Did we really need to do that?
Yep, okay. Like I said, those kinds of things, if you guys want to get them to us.
We
Now, I think
do
it's
have
good.
one really high-level concern that we have to pass along to all three of you, because we promised that we would do it 20 minutes, an hour and a half ago. We have a little artesian well out in the middle of Bremer County. It's run for probably 100 years. And one day a DNR agent officer drove by, and all of a sudden we got a letter saying that we had to cap the artesian well. Darius worked with it and responded, and we decided not to cap the artesian well. We need to have the DNR not worry about little things that have been in place for 100 years. This artesian well is hurting no one.
Who's your lead contact on that?
Darius.
Okay.
And where's the well?
The well is, you've all gone by it, you've seen it, especially if you drive Bremer County in the middle of winter. It's a beautiful ice sculpture in the winter. It's on C-33 between the Buck Creek Road and the Tripola Blacktop on the north side, right down in the swamp area, which, you know, there's some facts out there showing that if you cap it, you're gonna cause more environmental concerns than what you possibly are creating by it running, so.
Well, I think no one likes getting a call from us three collectively, so we'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
We'll get you more information, Darius, we can send you some,
Okay.
so.
Would you
Okay.
do that? Would you forward that to
Absolutely.
them?
You know the story about the jumbo well in Belle Plaine.
Is that another problem there?
Oh, no, it's a great Iowa history story.
Oh,
You don't?
I don't know this one. You've stumped me.
Somebody hired, it's kind of a shaggy dog story, but say they hired a guy to dig a well in Belle Plaine. And he tapped into the spot that all of the surrounding land pointed to for the water table. And it was a geyser. It went for weeks, then months, and it took a farmer to seal it. But they thought they'd have another river running through Belle Plaine. And it was national news, early 1900s.
that's funny.
That was back. So that was you with a shovel, wasn't it, Charlie?
No comment.
No. All right.
Okay, we've
done our time. Yeah, we
You are
apologize.
certainly welcome and encouraged to hang on for our next presentation, because we have our carbon friends here to talk about the update for the pipeline.
Okay.
So we could just have you switch places maybe
Okay.
and have them move up.
All right.
We can all take missions together. I'll probably like. You might have questions. I'll questions. probably better that way, you know more than me.
Impossible.
Okay, Haley, this is the first day of our meetings being broadcast, so just so
Awesome.
you and your partner are aware of that, so if you would introduce yourself.
Okay.
So,
My name is Kaylee Gibson. Last time I was here, I think I was Kaylee Langrell. Same person, different last name. Thank you for having us today. I also have Kylie Lang. She's one of the project managers with Summit Carbon Solutions. I'm going to give you guys the presentation and then she'll help answer questions. You can take one and pass it down. And I'm sorry, I only have 4 of those, but I have an extra when I'm done.
And if anybody wants a copy afterwards, we can make a copy. So,
Okay, so there's a few handouts in here. We're not going to go necessarily in order. I think you've seen some of them before, some of them you haven't. So you should have been getting some emails from us the past couple months, one being the introduction of our new CEO. We do have completely new upper management. Our new CEO's name is Joe Griffin. He has about 38, 39 years of experience in the pipeline industry, mostly in natural gas. So with that introduction of the new management, we are kicking things off with, and I'll point out this open house invite page here. So we're kicking things off with some open houses starting in November. Just a chance for landowners, community members, board members, anyone who wants to come to meet our new management and ask questions about the project. So we've done things similar to this in the past. Obviously, we had our informational meeting here in Waverly last year. And so this is just another opportunity, more open forum for people to ask questions.
I would just add on top of that, the new management team that is led by Joe Griffin, so he brought his entire management team. It was kind of a replacement of our previous management team. Joe is looking and interested to sit down and have a conversation with any supervisor that is willing. He wants to hear what you guys have to say, dissenting opinions and all. So if you guys have any interest in that, reach out to Kaylee or I, and we can get something set up directly with him. So he truly is, he wants to hear, he wants to see what's going on. So if you guys have any interest in that, let me know.
Yep, and I did put a new business card in there so you guys will have my information. Next thing I'll touch on is this handout here, the Community and Landowner Partnership Program. So we have 7 commitments listed here, some of them new, some of them not. So the first one is the Emergency Response and Preparedness. With that comes the $50,000 emergency response grant, and on top of that is $1,000 per mile, and that will come into play before operations, probably around construction timeframe. And as you can see on the map that I've provided you guys, we are calculated at a little over 30 miles, so that would be an extra $30,000, so around $80,000 for that emergency response grant. That is the initial grant for every county. That will continue in some way, shape, or form. It may not look the exact same year to year, but that grant will continue. Second, public awareness and open communication. Part of me coming to the board meetings like I have, giving updates on the project. I know I haven't been here in a while. There really haven't been a whole lot of updates to give. But now that we're here, we want to continue that, kind of like with the open houses. And then also I like to mention, since they put it on here, our website, because I don't know how many people do utilize the website, but it has a lot of information that I'm passing out here today and much more. So that is also a resource. Getting into the new information, the landowner commitment, we will provide the statutory or 72-hour survey notice, and the new part would be the $500 survey payment. And then we are also offering flexible easement options. So you'll have to bear with me for this one. The first option would be a lump sum, which is a little confusing because it's not a lump sum. So it's 3 payments. One would be immediate. One would be when we get our permit. And right now we've submitted some amendments to our initial permit to the IUC. So I'm assuming that it would be when that comes into play, or for you guys, the phase 2 permit. That's when they would get the second payment. And the third would be upon construction. So that is the lump sum option. There's also an annual option that a lot of people have asked for, which would be to split up those payments over, up to 10 years. We could do more than 10 years if that's something they really want. That would just be a little bit of a discussion. And then a payment option that is linked to financial distributions. That would kind of this is another one that has been requested by landowners, and it kind of makes them similar to an investor or an owner. So they get a distribution anytime an owner or investor gets one, but it's without the liabilities of that. Basically, if the project is successful, they will get distribution from that. And the next one is annual stakeholder payments. So on top of the easement payment, we will have annual landowner payments. And this is for any landowner. And I want to kind of jump down to that last bullet point. Eminent domain is a last resort. As I will always say in this room, it's a last resort. But just to make note that these payments will be for all landowners, even if eminent domain is used. So those payments would start out at a 25 cents per foot per year. And then if we get 100% voluntary acquisition statewide, that would go up to 50 cents per foot per year. And there are additional markers in between that, whatever acquisition we're at now to 100%. I think there's 80% voluntary, and so forth. And that should have been in the email that you guys got. We sent out a more in-depth email regarding this, but I can forward you that information if you want to see those additional markers. So moving on to the county commitment, similar payments for the counties, except instead of starting out at 25 cents per foot per year, we're starting at 12.5 cents per foot per year. If you get up to 100% voluntary acquisition in the county, that would be 25 cents per foot per year payment to the county. And you guys there would be local control over how those funds are used. Moving on to construction commitment. This one's not new, but just a reminder, we do prioritize union and local labor, and our contractors will be pre-qualified. And then we will comply with the agricultural and environmental mitigation plans. So I always like to bring up the agricultural impact mitigation plan that's specific to the state of Iowa. That's where your county inspector comes into play. So you would hire that inspector. We pay for that inspector. They follow us through construction to make sure that we are following that document to a T, and they do have full stop work authority now. Then number 6, we can touch on tribal engagement. I don't think that really affects you guys, but we do like to point out that we do have tribal engagement. And then 7, water stewardship and transparency. Water has been a big discussion over the past few years. People are concerned with the amount of water used, and we're looking into different ways to cool our towers, because that's what the water is used for. Just to be clear, there is no water running through the pipeline. The CO2 is completely dehydrated. The only time that water is used is to cool the process of that. So we're looking at, obviously, recycling and reusing that water where we can, and then also other options to cool those towers to lower that water usage.
I was gonna say I can hit the water a little bit more. This is part of the new management team's review of the project is water being used to cool the compressors, similar to how the ethanol plant uses to cool their equipment today. In what ways, does it always have to be water, is what they're looking at. And when we talk about nighttime and when we talk about winter conditions, are there other options, such as air cooling, to reduce the water footprint? So that's something we're pretty heavily looking at right now. And we're gonna see it as a large footprint reduction, as well as looking at reusing and recycling where we're able. Obviously, there's going to be some loss to evaporation during the process from the heating, but it's something that we're looking at pretty intensely right now, as we heard and the new management heard, that water is a big concern. But re-note, there is no water in the pipeline. It's just there's a lot of confusion around that. I want to make sure that that's clear. There's no water in the pipeline. That is just for the compression equipment at the ethanol plant itself.
Right, and then the last thing I'll touch on is this economic impact page. You guys, I'm sure I brought this in here before. The number probably looks a little bit different than last time. We are updating these, I think, on a quarterly basis. Is that how Joel's doing it? So the number that you guys would probably be most interested in is that bottom one, the 394,000, which would be the estimate for the county general fund. And this is based on, the way we get these numbers is it's based on the size of the pipe and the amount of pipe in the county, and then also if there is a capture facility in the county, which you guys do not have a capture facility, but you do have 30 miles of pipe. So that's where those numbers come from. Also like to note, people sometimes have questions about those. Joel, our tax guy who runs these numbers, is willing to meet with anyone and everyone. He has met with people before if you have questions and want to pick his brain about where we get these. But I guess one other thing I'll note, which you guys have seen the map before, but the red ribbons on here are the proposed valve sites. So I just want to make sure you guys know that when you're looking at this, but I think that's the only thing I can point out there. With that, if you guys have any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer them.
You were talking about pumping located. There won't be any pumping stations in Bremer County.
No, sir.
We do have a list of questions, and we asked Corey to ask them so that we all don't have to be interjecting and such. So Corey, do you want to?
Part of your new plan, I know you'd filed an amendment recently requesting some changes. Are you still planning to sequester North Dakota, the carbon, or going somewhere else?
Yeah. So I guess Kayla didn't talk too much on the 1.0 amendment, if everyone's familiar with it. It's, I guess, what we call it. So your guys' pipeline is technically on what we reference as permit 2.0. But we put an amendment in for the 1.0. Several different reasons. Railroads updated best practices. We added a plant in Denison. But a big portion was we increased the pipe size going into Nebraska. So from where we tee off from what we call our main line into Nebraska is now a 24-inch pipe, where it was previously a 12-inch pipe. And the reason was just to give flexibility on the project. So we are still looking at sequestering in North Dakota. It is still absolutely an option and on the table, but we are opening up our optionality to potentially go to the DJ Basin, which is out west, which is why we upsized and changed the amendment. It also is why it said you have to have a permit. It said through South Dakota, through North Dakota, and then at the sequestration sites in North Dakota. And we said we still want to make sure we are fully permitted for a functioning project. But if that project is heading out west, we'd like the wording to say you have a fully functional project, if that's through Nebraska and other states, or if it's through South Dakota, North Dakota to our previous sequestration site. Both are still on the table, but yeah, we did upsize with the optionality to look at the DJ Basin.
The DJ Basin, is that for enhanced oil recovery then, or?
Nope, sorry, that's very similar to the sequestration sites that we have up in North Dakota. It's just a large footprint. It's in Wyoming, Colorado, a bit of Nebraska. It's a large area that has sequestration capabilities.
Okay.
So we're testing and doing seismic out there to see capability.
About 9 or 10 months ago, I can't remember the exact date, but we had notified Summit, the county had, our engineer about, we had, I believe it was 12 points inconsistent road crossing with our right-of-way crossing ordinance. Have you worked with our engineer to remedy those 12 issues? What's the status of that currently?
I did meet with your engineer. As far as I know, that's at the IUC.
I'll take it.
Yeah, go ahead. But I did have a meeting.
It's open at the IUC, which I know you guys are aware. You opened it. I think Summit responded, and then it's been sitting at the IUC maybe as long as 9 or 10
I think
months.
since January.
Yeah, it's been a long
There's
time.
been no action on that.
Yeah.
And so you're waiting for that ruling, you're not?
I think we're waiting just to see their stance as an important piece, but we're absolutely willing to sit down and talk about it. I think there's situations where shifting the route does push us a little closer to homes. It moves from where landowners requested us to move it to, and then there's always the situation which we have in other counties where the IUC, when we received our permit 1.0, they moved our pipe quite a few times. And oftentimes they move it to the edge of someone's property, which and have us run the edge of a property. Where if you have to be 495 feet off an intersection, you can't run the edge of someone's property. So it's the potential for conflict is our concern, which is why we want to see where the IUC is going to rule on it.
Okay.
But just
So-
to- oh, go ahead.
Just a follow-up question. So are you willing to work with the supervisors to alter the route in the county?
I think we'd have to talk on one-on-one situations and where concerns are, but we're more than happy to sit down and talk about concerns that you guys have. If that's through the engineer, we can do that.
Yep, and just to be clear, I did meet with the engineer and we walked through crossing by crossing. So we did look at those together.
I see the grant money that you're looking to do for like emergency response and preparedness, and you said that would continue in some shape or form. What's the reasoning behind that? Why are you wanting to offer that to emergency management? Is there some inherent danger here with the pipeline that we're trying to prepare for, or?
I would, first say the grant is above and beyond any equipment you need for CO2. So CO2 monitors, other conversations with emergency managers on equipment, that's not related to this grant. So this grant, I couldn't speak if it goes into the general fund or a specific fund for emergency management, just because I'm not familiar enough with how the county spreads the money. But this is not uncommon for pipelines. It's actually more common than not for a pipeline to give grants just to be able to be good stewards to the county in the areas that they live in. So that's above and beyond any CO2 related needs. This could be used for anything related to emergency management.
Okay. Just general operations?
Yeah.
Thank you. One thing I guess I forgot to follow up on, I need to jump back for a minute. Back to the route, we talked about wanting to move to like edge of property for landowners and everything, and then your willingness to work with the county on situation by situation. So you would be willing to amend the route to work with the right-of-way ordinance if that's what it comes to for the issues there?
I just cannot speak on something. I'm not a lawyer in my comfort, but if we have specific conversations we want to have on specific points of the route, we're more than happy to.
Would you be willing to withdraw the motion of the IUC asking permission to ignore the county road crossing ordinance if that's what it came to get permits for the county?
No, at this time we want to see where the IUC stands.
Okay. Phase 2 docket consolidation. I know you filed a motion here recently to consolidate the dockets. Whose convenience was that for?
I guess I would say everyone's. Previously, when we first filed, 15 dockets of permit 2.0, you're required to have separate dockets. If the pipeline is not contiguous, you have to have a separate docket. That's state law. At the time, there were orders put in, requests, I believe, by the counties, by the majority of the opposition groups to consolidate. That was their desire. And our only objection to it was we already had the hearing for permit 1.0, so let's separate permit 1.0 from the dockets that have not had hearings yet. But now we're going to reopen permit 1.0. We can bring that into the grouping and have one hearing. Most people don't want to go to Fort Dodge or wherever the hearing ends up being 15 different times, 16 different times. I would say Summit included, but landowners, various attorneys that have to be paid. One hearing for a pipeline to us makes sense. I think it previously made sense to the opposition when they put in the request for this, 10 months ago, actually probably over a year ago. I think it's for everyone. I mean, nobody wants to go and have the same hearing 15 times.
Well, in our perspective, in talking with our county attorney in the last couple of weeks over this, we would be using our resources to sit through dockets that, portions of it if it was combined, but those other 14 dockets that wouldn't even apply to our route. And so that's a waste of local resources in our view. Plus, with the individual dockets, the hearing could be closer to home, so we would have less travel time, less expended from local resources to get to, and possibly lodging if it's a centralized location. So I can tell you from the county's perspective, it's a great inconvenience to bring those together. So
I
can see the duplication side of it,
Yeah.
of some of the arguments, but how we use our taxpayer dollars to negotiate and be there for the hearing would be a disservice to our constituents.
I can't speak to how the IUC is going to do it, but I've at least heard that there's going to be remote options for testifying in the various, I don't know if it's by county or by lateral options available. I don't think that would appease everything you said, but at least something.
PHMSA regulations require the pipeline company to share certain information with local governments. One of those is dispersion modeling. What date do you plan on sharing dispersion modeling with our county?
And anytime you guys are interested.
We have offered that to the emergency manager, yeah.
So we generally organize it through the emergency manager, and they'll invite you. If we want to organize it directly through you guys, we can. We've probably done it in more than half the counties in Iowa.
Okay. And then to piggyback off that, the training exercises, the emergency management, like training in regards to response to pipeline issues, is there plans to start training programs?
Generally, formal training takes place during operation or during construction. Just because you have turnover and you want it to be newly in the mind of the first responders as you go into operations. But we do have a new lead that came with our new management team, and he is building out a program right now, and I can't 100% speak to what it's going to come to, but previously and historically with the majority of pipeline companies, you want to do it during construction because then it's just fresh and you hit the right people.
You touched on like your commitment, financial commitments to the landowners and the easements. I know it's been a few months since I've looked at our easement list in the county, or Exhibit H, as I believe they're called. Has there been any substantial movement on that? Are we still about the same percentages of voluntary easements on this road?
It hasn't. We only kicked. So when we brought in the new management team, we did shut down.
Okay.
We went internal. We built new core values. We built this community benefits agreement. We only kicked back off about a week and a half ago.
Okay.
So in what Kaylee mentioned, the 25 cents ranging up to 50 cents, that will be in the easement, and anyone who previously signed will retroactively get it. So it's going to be written down in their easement.
I know like there's some local counties that, I think phase 2, you're sitting at about 15%, 16% voluntary easements right now. Is there, and you said eminent domain is a last resort, is there a percentage threshold that you're going to walk away from the project if you can't get to from a voluntary standpoint? Is it?
I'm not going to give a percentage. I think it's proven through this community benefits agreement that this new management team cares. Through the new offers that I think the landowners are going to get, you're going to see that things look different. So what they're doing is they're really focused on this. They care a lot about this. They care about being partners with the landowners. So we're working hard and we're fighting to hear what the landowners are saying and build relationships with them and get that number up. So what I'm saying is, give this new management team some time and we can talk again.
What is your goal to have land acquisitions wrapped up? Like, do you have a timeline?
I don't think there's a timeline. We're gonna keep working on it through the duration. So whenever someone wants to talk, we're gonna talk to them. We obviously can't kind of pick how long the IUC takes.
Right.
So we don't build that timeline.
Yeah, you had filed asking for consolidation and for conference scheduling. So that's why I was asking that, to see if you had a kind of a plan to get easements wrapped up so that you could go into hearings.
Nope. Through all of that, we'll continue talking with landowners. I think everyone would like a scheduling conference just to kind of see, even if it's far out in the future, then we can at least make schedules, both sides of the group. But no, that has nothing to do with. We'll continue talking with landowners.
Okay. Has anything changed on the South Dakota? I know you were denied out there. Has anything changed there? Is there ongoing talks for a permit through South Dakota?
I think the conversation is still open. People are still out there working in South Dakota, but there's no big update or change.
I think that's all I have.
I have a couple of, and they're really follow-up questions to things you said. One, I'm curious, why the need to replace the entire management team? And then I have another question after that. It seems odd that in a project like this, that the entire management team would be switched.
It was not the entire management team. It was a big chunk of it. I can't speak to why the board makes decisions. I've been on the project for nearly 4 years, so I was around through both. I think it's been a long project that has drug out, that has hit a couple more roadblocks than was initially anticipated, and bringing in new energy, new motivation, a lot of experience was just something that was going to be good for the project. I don't think it's anything negative on the previous management team. But bringing in a team that has proven to be successful, has a drive to do this project and do it right. I think it was good timing for it.
And now a follow-up to that is there anybody on the board from Iowa?
On the board from Iowa?
Yeah, anybody on your Carbon Solutions board that makes the decisions? Is there someone from Iowa on that board of directors?
Yes, yeah. There's
how many?
Two that I know of. I guess I couldn't
And how big
swear
is the
from
board?
7.
Okay, thank you.
Don't quote me on 7.
Final
It's
question.
7 or 8.
This one should concern everybody in the room. Early on, you said that there were changes made due to best practices. Does that speak to any kind of changes made because of potential safety concerns or not?
I wouldn't necessarily call it safety concerns, but I would say in the pipeline industry, best practices are continuously updated. Right, our regulation 195 was updated in 2018 and again in 2022. But I can't exactly speak to why the railroad, and it wasn't the railroads, but their research organization changed drill design. That would be across the pipeline industry. And we definitely want to continue to be following best practice and what that means. But it was just a technical change on drill design.
It just scares me from the perspective that if no one would have questioned anything that was being done back when Navigator first presented to us 3 or 4 years ago, we'd have a pipeline in the ground and it wouldn't be best practices. That would be scary.
I understand what you're saying, but we have pipelines in the ground from 60, 70 years ago. Sure. They were not built like the pipelines that are being built today.
Okay.
And the pipelines built in 10 years will most likely be better than the ones built today.
Final question that I have is that annual stakeholder payments over the life of the project. What is the life of the project?
And it'd be the duration the pipeline is operational.
So there is no answer to that question.
No, it's not 15 years or 20 years. It's however long CO2 is flowing in the pipeline.
What if it became operational 2 years in? But payments would end, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else about it.
Yeah, getting back to yours, I mean, the new board's trying to be more focused on the farmers, it looks like. Trying to get buy-in on them, on the incentive payments and stuff like that, so right now, most farmers are against it, so you guys got your work cut out. It seems to me, that you need to be making sure that you get buy-in from our ag community. Probably for the people, the legislators in the back, if, you do property tax relief, we don't want to see this probably cut. So, making sure that, if they're going to commit to this much money in property taxes, don't cut their property taxes. So behind it. Otherwise, I still have a lot of concerns, My main thing is eminent domain. This is not something that eminent domain should be used for. That's my personal feeling. So you got a long ways to get buy-in from our farmers, and our rural people to go through. And I hope you guys are really honestly in doing that, so.
It does sound like you've taken some steps in the right direction.
We appreciate
However,
that.
there's
We understand.
still an awful lot of mess in this mess, so,
We understand, and truly, if you guys have any interest in talking to our CEO, he wants to hear dissenting arguments and where you guys stand. So, or come to the open house; he'll be there as well.
Yeah, and I think they understand it's not gonna be an easy, here's these annual payments and all this new stuff, and people are just gonna sign on. It's gonna be conversations and really showing that, you know, we're here for the long run and for benefits to everyone, so.
I certainly would echo Supervisor Runcort's concern. This is nowhere for eminent domain to be used, period. Thank you. I don't have anything else either. One of you guys have anything else?
Thank you, ladies.
No, anybody from the public want a copy, I can make a copy of the material, so.
I also have one extra.
Got one extra, okay.
Yep.
We didn't have it on as any kind of an action item on this topic, so I guess we're not going to take any action on it. So, thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. So, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
So,
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, did it cut through?